Hang on a minute. Jacob, this live stream's meant to be unlisted. Have I goofed that up? How have I managed to goof that up so badly? Well, clearly it's public. Alright, fair enough. Yeah, this is meant to be an unlisted stream. I'm testing something out, and it's went spectacularly wrong. XSplit has apparently done me over. I mean, thanks for showing up and all that, but there's literally nothing planned. Thing is, in XSplit, there's a little setting where you can I even know I can't put this on screen. It's disappeared. Yeah, I told it to be unlisted. Never mind, it's went public. Oh well, then we've got ourselves an impromptu live stream. Hi. Why is it done that? I need to. You can just sit and look at me if you want. I mean, I need to look at YouTube and see what information has been populated into the video, because what I put into XSplit is not what it's appeared into the dashboard. It's mildly irritating. Are you familiar with Nastran? I'm familiar with it. I've recently had a night out with the guy who invented it over at AU. He was absolutely smashed. So he wasn't really all that interested in talking about Nastran, but I am familiar with its existence. I've installed it a few times. I know somebody who knows much more about it than I do. Can you do a video on stress analysis? There might be something coming soon on that. I'm not a stress analysis expert though. It's not something that I've ever really done for anything with in work. But having said that, if I was to do any stress analysis stuff, it probably would be on my channel, but it might not be me doing it. I know a guy who literally writes the book on stress analysis, and it would be better to come from him unless he gives me the information that I can present. But yeah, I've got no background in stress analysis. But there's a few things potentially in the pipeline for it. There's a lot of stuff kind of went down before Autodesk University, and I was just like, la 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 la. I can't think about it until after Autodesk University. So now it's after Autodesk University. I should probably follow it up. Why? I'm looking at the preview of my live stream. Why is it hung? I don't know if I've frozen or not. Let us know if the live stream's frozen, because I'm looking at the preview and I'm like frozen with a spinny circle on it. So I don't know what's going on with this. I'm not even meant to be live streaming right now. This was meant to be an unlisted stream, but it gone done. I must. Refresh the page. Oh, no, I'm still on. I'm planning on doing some videos about iLogic. I need to learn iLogic first. I'm not a programmer. The lack of iLogic videos out of the 400 that I've done suggests that I'm not really all that up to speed on it. Being a programmer would help me massively in my day job. But it's one of those things that you just never get time to do. I say, I need to learn programming, but then I do so many things already that I just haven't got the mental capacity to take on something new. So when Autodesk first bought iLogic, it was Logimetrics, I think, the company that made iLogic. There was this big. I was working at the reseller at the time, and there was this big push. Oh, it's programming for engineers. You don't need to be a programmer to do iLogic. And then I took one look at it and I was like, but that's BS. Turn it in. Of course, you need to be a programmer to do iLogic. It's full of, you need to know end, if, else, and, then, or, but, why, what statements. You need to have logic written out in actual programming logic. I don't even know the terminology they use in programming, but the syntax, that's the word I'm looking for. You need the right syntax, and if you don't get that right, it all falls apart. So of course you need to be a bloody programmer to use iLogic. It kind of wound me up at the time, and it's been on my to-do list ever since. But I've managed to do what I need to do without really doing too much with iLogic. But I keep saying stuff's on the to-do list and it never gets done. It's just when you've got that. It's like anybody who's got things in their life that they want to do, whether it be build a shed, whether it be I don't know, put an extension on the house, whether it be wash your car. There's tons of things that you kind of want to do, and you keep saying, oh, it's on the to-do list, and life just happens and you get on with stuff and you don't need to do the things that are on your to-do list, and you just never get around to doing them. I've got lots of them things, and iLogic's one of them. So there might come a time where I get things are starting to quiet down now. This is why I'm doing this live stream. Or I was testing the live stream. So the plan is, I'll probably just put this on YouTube after I'm done. The plan is, it was before AU, it was to make something more of the Patreon account that I've got. And I'm planning on doing Patreon only live streams on Mondays, possibly, where I can just launch up a live stream, and then the Patreon supporters and followers can ask questions, and we can just talk and chat and hang out for an hour or 2 hours or something, and then the video will go up on YouTube afterwards. So yeah, I've got a bit of time coming up. One of my day job, I've got 2 day jobs. One of them, which is the Monday and Tuesday one, I've kind of put on hold and just not cancelled it, but just pulled back until after the new year, because the busyness is just getting ridiculous. So I've potentially got Mondays and Tuesdays now to focus a bit more on other stuff. So I might do the Patreon live streams on Mondays and Tuesdays, or Mondays, and then the video can go up on Tuesday. That's what this was supposed to be testing. So that's the plan. Please tell me how to start a big assembly. Should I make parts separately and then assemble them, or should I start the assembly only and then create parts in it? There's no right answer to that. It depends. There isn't a right answer to it. There's a third option as well, which is to do a multi-body part. So if you just, so I've got an example somewhere. A remote, right? See that there? That's an assembly of parts. So there's probably more than 3 ways, but the 3 main ways of making an assembly is, you're right, you start with the IAM, so there's nothing there, it's a blank IAM, and then you model each of the parts separately, and then once you've got them all modeled separately, you kind of place them into the IAM and then constrain them together. That's one way of doing it, but it's difficult to say model the body if you can't see the buttons, which is then when you think to yourself, yeah, I need to create cuts for the buttons, but I don't know the size of the buttons, and you've got to constantly flick backwards and forwards. And that's the point where your own brain starts thinking of other ways of doing it, and that situation that you're doing, you'd make a judgment call at the time, and then you start figuring out, well, obviously I have to have the part for the remote in the assembly so I can then put the button. So you kind of figure it out as you go, but yeah, that's one way. The other way is to start the assembly, to do create parts. You create a model in context of the assembly, and you're doing all the sketches within the assembly environment, but you're in part context, and then you can see all the background parts, and you can project geometry through and make stuff adaptive and whatnot. That's the easiest way of doing assembly modeling. It's not the only way, it's not the right way, it's just an easy way if everything is linked together. And then the third way is multi-body parts. So you would do this as an IPT. So you would create all your sketches, all your extrusions, all your lofts, all your sweeps, and then for a button you would draw an ellipse in part mode, extrude it up, put your fillets on and whatnot. But then when you do your extrude, you click the button to make it a new body. So each one of these buttons would be its own body. This remote, you probably can't see it, but there's like a parting line there. So it's a plastic part. So that top part and the bottom part are separate bodies. So they're two parts. So that would be one body in the multi-body part. That would be one body. And then once you've got this single part with lots of bodies in it, you can then click make components and it'll convert the multi-body part into an assembly. I've already done a video on that though. If you looked in my back catalogue, I've got a multi-body modelling tutorial. So there's no right way of doing it, but you kind of figure it out when you start modelling your assembly and you hit that point where you think this is really difficult. I'm having to constantly flick backwards and forwards. That's when your brain starts to think the other way of doing it would be better for this situation that I'm in. Right, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was looking to see if my video came up in the YouTube. Someone do us a favour, because I don't know if I can see it here. But let us know what the title of this video is. Like underneath the actual video, it should have a title. And it's either going to be that if you asked a question recently, I might get to it here Q&A live stream. It's either going to be that, or what it should be is a Patreon only test stream. That's what it should be. Oh, then export every solid as make part. Yep. Or make components, I think the button is. Is it worth doing it here? Can I do it here? Can I flick over to... Hey, I can't. The webcam's gone though. There I am. Let's fire up Inventor, mate. Whilst we're here, there is no structure or anything to this live stream, so I can do what the hell I want. It's the if you asked a question. Oh, brilliant. Thank you for confirming. It's not what I wanted to see, but that's confirmed it. So really, XSplit hasn't pushed through the metadata to YouTube, which is tres annoying. Never mind. Right, so can you see what I'm doing? Yes, you can. Right, mate. Oh, my 3D mouse isn't plugged in. I've been using the driving simulator of nicked my USB port. Right, here we go. So this could be one body, so we'll just do 50 by 50. Right, finish sketch. Extrude. So the first feature that you do in Inventor is always a new solid. It has to be. That's the start of the solid bodies. So you should get in the browser solid bodies that there. So now whenever you do anything in Inventor, add extrusions, add revolves, add sweeps, add lofts. If you just accept the defaults, every new bit of material that you add to this part will be included with solid 1, which you can rename base piece or something. Right. Oh, Google security alert. That's good to know. Right, and then you go. Okay. Add another one. Make this 40, whatever. Extrude that up. And then you click this little button here to make that a new solid. So you now should have two bodies in one part. Extra bit. And then when you're done, I might have to save this first. I don't know if it'll actually work. But when you're done, you go into manage and then make a components. Yeah, you need to save the damn thing. Multi-body part. And then you add both of these bits. So it's going to make an assembly. And then both of these bodies are going to end up being parts in their own right in a new assembly. And then you can give the assembly a name and call this, I don't know, just use the example of remote. Next, and then you end up with extrabit.ipt, basepiece.ipt, and then boom, there you go. And it's all linked together as well. That's the good thing about this, is it's linked. So that's the assembly. Each one of these bits is now its own part. So there's the base bit. But they're all linked back to the original multi-body part. So the good thing about doing it this way is that it's easier to do a complex shape for an assembly in part mode, like sweeps and lofts and splits and all kinds of things. You can create the form easier in the part environment using multi-body parts, and then just explode them out into an assembly afterwards. But then once you've exploded them, if you add bits to this, it'll update the exploded assembly. Which then begs the question, well, why do I need two? Because you've now got two copies. You've got the multi-body part, which shows the bits, and then you've got the assembly, which shows the bits, and they're two completely different files. Why do you need both of them? Well, this is kind of the master that drives everything, but then this can be used for parts list. You can't call a. You probably should be able to. The logistics of it would be quite difficult, I would have thought. But you can't call, it's just a fact, you can't call a parts list from bodies. Whereas with the assembly, you can drop that onto a drawing, and then you've got your parts list. And then materials and weights, and each part in its own right, it's got its own centre of gravity and all that kind of stuff. So that's my preferred way of doing assembly design. But when you're doing stuff like this, I mean, here's a production assembly. I'm allowed to show this, so I'm pretty safe. But this is the chassis of a remotely operated vehicle. You couldn't do that with a multi-body part. That's when you'd have to use an alternative method for designing assemblies. But the chances are each of those bits was designed separately and then dropped in, like these, I think they're called valve packs or something at the back of the vehicle. They're all done separately, modelled up in a separate environment by someone completely different, and then they're put into a data management system, and then someone else grabs them and drops them into the assembly and then constrains them in place. So for something like that, it's just because that's not really a consumer product. It's not like a small manufactured in one bit kind of a product. It's just different approach. So I don't have to worry about the constraints between. No, you don't. That's the other good thing about it. So once you've, because you're effectively designing the constraints into the multi-body part. So because I sketched onto that face to create this part. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Because for this top bit, this extra bit, the sketch was placed onto that face and it was extruded up. So that's pretty much like a mate constraint when it's converted into an assembly. So that constraint's built in, and then when they're exploded into an assembly, everything's grounded, and then the distance between the parts and their position is all controlled from the sketches and the way you designed it in the part. It's an easier way of doing assembly design. It doesn't suit all circumstances and scenarios. You lose the ability to do some stuff like driving constraints, so like animating a mate constraint and a flush constraint and animating angular constraint. You can't really do all that kind of stuff very easily, but you might not need to do that. It's just there is no one size fits all for everybody. So, is that the T300 steering wheel? No, that's the TX. It's proper old school. But I got this yesterday. Well, am I happy with it? I'm sort of 80% happy with it. Because I bought F1 2018, which hurt because it doesn't have VR support. But trying to look past the VR support and use that telly there. F1 2018 is a goodish game. But yeah, I needed a better rig, so I bought this completely new simulator rig. Can you see the back of it there? So it's got a full chair thing built into it. It's the Next Level Racing FGT, I think it's called. But yeah, so the steering wheel, this is the Thrustmaster F1. It's just a cheap, tacky plastic thing. But why I'm only 80% happy with it is because it's got loads of little. I can't twist it because it's pretty fixed in. But you can see here, this yellow thing here, that's a Ferrari knob. It's like a dial. And then it's got loads of little colourful dials around it, which on the advertising picture looked like it had extra buttons. So you can change like tyre settings and suspension settings and grip settings, and they're all just pictures of dials. So I was not happy with that. And there's like turning knobs here, turning knobs there, there's D-pads everywhere, and they're all the same buttons. So it's nice to have a proper Formula One wheel, but it's a bit irritating that it's there's a lack of buttons on it. But never mind, I'm happy enough with it. I'm happy with the rig, the actual rig, because before I had that thing, I had something called a Wheel Stand Pro, which is okay. I'll see if I can show you a picture of it. Wheel Stand Pro. Get this up before I change the camera. It was that was exactly that. Is there a bigger picture? Yeah. So I was using that up until the weekend. So that's kind of good for just getting started, but then once you start trying to be a bit more competitive and you're using the rig a lot and you're getting into it, this just doesn't cut the mustard. You like a fast-paced track, you turn the wheel really sharply and the whole thing just moves and starts tilting backwards and forwards. The actual base of it isn't designed to hold the pedals that I've got. So you can see the pedals I've got here. There's an absolute massive metal unit, the T3PA pedals. And you see this little, you can see it on there. There's like this little metal bracket there. And that was their solution for clamping the pedals down. So you've got this metal bar that goes across, and then there's like a screw that goes up, and it just clamps the pedals to these two bars using a bit of metal, and that metal just sort of warps and bends, and the pedals just sort of slide around. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't be doing with this. So I bought the FGT rig, which I'm well happy with. So that was going to be the plan today. I was going to spend the day sim racing around F1, but got kind of busy. Did you know about really? Saw that coming. Did you think that Onshape works better with large assemblies than Fusion? I didn't really give it a chance, but no, I don't think it does. Depends what you mean by large assemblies, I suppose, but when I tested Onshape, I imported the jet engine assembly, which wasn't that big of an assembly. It had something like, I don't know, 100 parts, 150 parts, something like that. And it struggled. It struggled big time with it. Just visually, everything was just faceted and not very good. And Fusion 360 handled that assembly very well. In fact, that vehicle that I showed you before, I've imported that into Fusion 360 and it kind of handled it okay. Whereas I think Onshape would have collapsed under the weight of something like that. But I've not looked at Onshape at all since I did the original first video on it. I can't remember if I did a follow-up on it, but after that video, the salesman who I spoke about in the Onshape video got in touch with me via LinkedIn, and he was like, "Oh, can you just give us a chance? Can I do a demo to you?" And I thought, honestly, don't want to be rude, but I'm just kind of not interested at all. But given that I've criticized you, I suppose it's only fair that you get a chance to sort of, put your side of the story forward. And so I set up this live demo with them, and the guy demonstrated Onshape to me, and it didn't really clear up much. There was a couple of points that it kind of cleared up, but not to the point where I was like, yeah, actually, you're worth the money you're asking for. No, it was still lacking lots of features. The data management solution that he showed me was lacking lots of features, and it works. I mean, it works in the same way that a plastic car will get you from A to B, but there's lots of better modes of transport. You know what I mean? So, no, I didn't really look at it at all since then. As I click on place from electrical catalog, it shows catalog not found. Database error. That one there. Could not find catalogue. Check the catalogue. I think off memory, when you install Inventor, there's an option to install the electrical catalogue. So you've got Inventor, you've got the desktop app, you've got the Content Center libraries, and I think the electrical catalogue is a separate ticky box. I think. And it's probably, I'm sort of thinking out loud here, it's probably listed in the files area, isn't it? Or if it's not, it should be. Preset sketch, team web. Okay, maybe it's not. Well, if it ain't there, where is it? Where would it put it? Unless, and I don't know. I've never used it, but it's calling it a database, which suggests that it might install like a MySQL or a SQL Express instance. So it doesn't have a file path. I don't know. I don't know. Look in manage projects. Oh, yeah, good point. Is it a per project file setting? Nope. As it's here, it won't be in there because it's. I don't think the electrical database is a Content Center library. Nope. Anyone else got any ideas? You checked it, showed it was installed. Don't know, mate. I'll have to look into it. It's not something I've never looked at Inventor's electrical integration. Companies I'm at just don't do that, so it's not been something I've ever looked at. Supplier content, it's not that. Content Center editor, it's technically not Content Center, so it shouldn't be within any of those. Collaborate. Oh, I don't know. I'll see if I can check on installer. Actually, it's showing electrical catalog installed. Well, I mean, I'm curious because it's telling me that I don't have it. Check that the catalog database is installed and placed in the expected folder. Well, tell me what the expected folder is, Autodesk, and that would be a good place to start. See the electrical catalog browser help. A help button would be nice, and yes, honestly, sometimes. This is, oh hello, Microsoft Access, primary. Are you been in here? Because obviously my settings are blank. No, not there. I wouldn't have installed it. I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have installed it when I installed mine. So even if I did have it, or even if this did fix it, I wouldn't be able to browse to the database because it just won't be there. But try clicking that cog and see if you can browse to it. But beyond that, don't know. Fusion is a good product, but it's lacking frame generator and bolt connection. These are two very important factors that we need for structural steel modeling. Quite right. The thing is with Fusion, it's lacking a lot of the high-end engineering tools. But the moment that they start adding every single one of them in that it's missing, it becomes Inventor. I was trying to talk about this when I was over at Autodesk University, but it's one of the it's a question that they kind of dodge because they're not really sure themselves where they're going with it. But every argument that I've seen so far about Fusion is usually, or every complaint about Fusion is almost entirely, it's missing something Inventor has. Can we add it? It's like, well, why keep making this new program? Why keep making it exactly like Inventor? Why don't you just use Inventor? Why are you developing something that you've already developed? It's like a duplication of efforts almost internally to make something the same as something they've already got. And the more stuff they add to it, the more it's going to be difficult for them to keep it at the price structure that they've got. Because Inventor is what it is. It's expensive. Fusion's not that expensive because it's not as capable. And the more R&D they plow into Fusion to add these tools in that Inventor has, which in some cases it might just be a case of just copying and pasting the source code. But they'll need to spend money on people to do that, to add the tools in, to test them, to keep them going. And then they'll not be able to sustain the price structure of Fusion 360 the more of this effort they put into it. So yeah, whenever I see someone complaining about something about Fusion, it's normally because it's missing something that Inventor's got, and it's good. It's a good thing that it's missing something Inventor's got, because then there's a clear differentiation between what someone should and shouldn't be using. Oh, you need to do structural steel work? Well, then you need Inventor. No, it was the case in the past. Oh, you need to do sheet metal? Well, you need Inventor. Well, you need to do simulation? Oh, you need Inventor. But now, like, Fusion's starting to get these extra bits in. It's now got sheet metal. It's now got simulation. It's just starting to, the lines are starting to blur. Just on the tip of the blurriness is starting to touch between the two of them. And I don't think they know where they're going with it. I think they want to keep moving Fusion forward, but I don't think they've got a long-term plan for it. If they have, they're not being very clear at all on what that is. But I've got nothing against Fusion. In fact, I want to do more on Fusion because for multiple reasons. One of them, obvious reasons, being that there's a bigger audience out there of Fusion users, so it'll help the channel grow. If I do Fusion videos, then there's more chance that the videos will be found by more people, and that'll accelerate the growth of the channel, which I need. But also, there's the guy who runs the equivalent channel on Fusion 360 to mine, Lars. He's kind of stopped doing videos. I think this is public knowledge. I think I spoke to him at length at AU, and he's been promoted within Autodesk because he always was. Lars Christensen, he does the main Fusion 360 channel. He always was an Autodesk employee, but he was a technical evangelist, and he's recently been promoted to principal marketing manager or something. He's now the boss of the technical marketing team for the product design collections. So he's not going to have as much time to do YouTube videos. So there's now an opening for someone like me to do more Fusion stuff because he's not now doing the videos. And there's a lot of people, a lot of youngsters, a lot of school kids, college students who are picking up on Fusion 360 and they need guidance. They can't afford training courses from CAD suppliers, and it's just the way it is. The online help that you get with the likes of Fusion and most of Autodesk products is just not great. It's just fragmented and sketchy, and so yeah, I might do some more stuff on Fusion 360. That's the second reason. Third reason is just to cover myself, just in case at some point in the future they do decide to pull the plug on Inventor and go, alright, that's it, Inventor's no more, Fusion's just as good. And then you're like, oh crap, I've been completely ignoring Fusion 360 up until this point, and now need to learn it. But there's not a lot to learn with you. That's one of the good things about Fusion, is that it's very, very similar to Inventor. So much so that the very first thing I modelled was that BMW alloy wheel. I hadn't modelled a single thing in Fusion, then I just opened it up and I was like, right, I'm going to model something, and I modelled an entire alloy wheel in it, which ended up being really good. So a lot of your skills from Inventor are very easily transferable over to Fusion 360, which is good. So yeah, I probably will do more on Fusion. Not to endorse it as being an alternative to Inventor, but just because with Lars moving on, and probably not doing more videos, there's just an opening there to fill a gap. So do I have an opinion on coding languages within Inventor? No, because I couldn't tell you one of them. I honestly don't know, mate. I don't know if you caught the start of the live stream, but I said that programming is something that's been on my to-do list for a while, and I've just completely dodged it, which is much to my detriment. I could probably make a lot more money in my day job if I couldn't write programming, but I've sort of assumed the role of a project manager when it comes to programming. So I'll be in a company, and we'll identify a need for something to happen via automation. If I could write code, I could probably do that myself and probably charge more overall and get more jobs because of it. But what I do instead is I'll just identify the need for the program, and then I'll outsource the programming to an ADN partner, development network partner, which I can do with good justification. That being, if it was me writing the code for the automation, then I'm kind of making myself too indispensable within a single company, which is never good. It's one of those things where it's kind of a call that you've got to make at the time. It's like, can solve this problem now, I can write the code, great, problem solved. But then long term, it's like, hang on a minute, what if you get hit by a bus? Then all that knowledge and the source code and everything's gone, and we're completely goosed. So I can kind of get away with not writing the programs by saying, if we outsource it to a CAD supplier, then your program is managed by a proper professional entity with lots of staff and not just me. So I've kind of dodged it. And to be honest, at this point, given that I've needed or wanted to learn to program for about 5 or 6 years, and I've never got around to it, I'm probably never going to get around to it. At this point, it's just not going to happen. If anything, I'll probably, if it got to a point where so much work came in that needed me to be able to write programs, I'd probably just hire somebody. If there was that much work coming in, like, look, I'll just make a company hire somebody to write the programs, and then we'll go from there. It's got to a point in life where I'm like, I've learned enough. Can't take on anything else. Didn't Bryce take over from Lars? I don't know, but it's not as easy as that. I don't know who Bryce. The name rings a bell. Possibly have met Bryce. I'm going to Google this. But yeah, it's not as easy as that, because on YouTube, you can't just take over from someone and carry on. If the person's not likable or has got a terrible presentation style, then it'll fail. Bryce Fusion. I'm just going to Google the guy to see who it is, see if I can recognize him. Well, nothing's come up. Bryce Heventhal. Was that the guy? I'm just looking up one of his blogs that he's written. God, Autodesk's websites are so slow. Bryce Heventhal is the technical marketing manager for Fusion 360. He's doing XYZ when he's not rock climbing. Why does someone in a 3-sentence description of themselves need to put in that they climb rocks? Because I'm an active kind of guy. All-American hero. I go rock climbing. Let's see his YouTube, see what his style's like.
Thank you, guys. I am Bryce Eventhal. I'm on the Fusion 360 team, and I'm going to be talking about traditional manufacturing, what she was saying. And recall that she did mention that, there we go. She did mention that with 3D printing, complexity is free. Unfortunately, with subtractive manufacturing, or what she was calling traditional manufacturing methods, complexity is not free, but precision is where we really excel in subtractive manufacturing and high production parts.
Well, he's not monotone, so that's something that he's got going for him. But he's American. No offense to, I do like Americans, but presentation style of Americans is not great at times. It helps to be English sometimes when it comes to presenting.
I think this is one of the features I'm going to be using constantly called Derive. It's very similar to inserting external references from other designs and other things like that.
Pretty good.
But it's a little bit different, and I'll show you some of my favorite use cases for it and how to use it. But before we get there, Aaron promised it last week we're going to have a little raffle.
No, he looks good. No, I mean, if he's taken over from Lars, he looks like he's pretty good. Fair enough. He doesn't look like a rock climber, does he? He felt the need to say that he is. Fusion is very cloud oriented, so huge libraries you install for Inventor can be added more easy in a more centralized way. Don't know what you mean by that. I don't know if you mean that Fusion is very cloud oriented, so huge libraries you install for Inventor can be added more easy. Can be added what, in Inventor or Fusion more easy? Be easier to have libraries in the cloud or locally. I don't know which one would be easier. No, but yeah, Bryce, if he's taken over from Lars, it depends. Thing is, though, the YouTube audience, you're a funny lot, and I'm part of it as well. I've subscribed lots of channels. We're very fickle, and we don't like change. So Lars has built up his audience, and people subbed. Thing is with YouTube, in a lot of cases, people sub to the person, not necessarily always the content. Kind of, sort of, maybe different for educational stuff, but in a lot of cases people sub to the person, and if the person changes, the guy could be the best person in the world. He could be far more knowledgeable, he could have a better presenting style, but people just don't like change, and they'll just instantly dislike someone because they're different. So I don't know, it might be fine. But I spoke to Lars about it at AU. I had a chat with him for about half an hour, and I just said to him, look, I've heard you're moving on, and what's going on with your YouTube? And he said, I don't know yet. It's difficult to tell. I've got to have different priorities, and I'm going to try to knock up some videos, but looking at his channel, he hasn't. And I said, well, I might just swoop in there and hoover it up. And he was like, go for it. I was like, So I don't know. I'm not intentionally going to knock up Fusion 360 stuff just for the sake of it, just to try and grab an audience at all. It's not really because of that. It's more because I've been over to the Reddit Fusion 360 subreddit, and there's a lot of questions over there for quite fundamental basic stuff, and there's just more people talking about Fusion than there is Inventor. It's one of those applications where Autodesk called it a pathfinding program, which I found very odd. That was a very odd description. They said it's an application that people can start a journey on, and then they can ultimately find their path to their end destination, which may be Inventor, it may be something completely different. I don't know where else Fusion 360 could lead you to, because it's product/mechanical design. Inventor is the only thing at the end of the path there, really, for within Autodesk's tools. But I found it an odd description to call it a pathfinding tool because they're putting in all of their flagship technology into Fusion 360. Where's generative design and Inventor? Why would you put generative design into a pathfinding bit of kit? Why is cloud rendering in Fusion 360 and not an Inventor? So I don't know what they're doing with it, but that's another reason why I kind of want to get into it. It's because there's all this high-level, proper smart stuff like generative design, and it's just not in Inventor. You'll never get exposed to it unless you jump on over to Fusion, and then have a mess around with it and that. So that's another reason why I want to take a look at it. Quite fascinated by generative design. Haven't used it an awful lot, but it's something that I could do a couple of videos on it, providing that I can get enough cloud credits to knock up a few studies on it. I think I've got 3 cloud credits, I think. I don't know. What do you think about VR CAD modeling? Have you seen any good software, and what do you think about the VR future? Well, as you know, I'm massively into VR. Love it. My Vive is almost worn out. I'm pretty sure I've used it more than most people have used VR since I got it. Oh, yeah, my phone's buzzing. But Autodesk are a bit stale and stagnant in the VR space at the moment on the mechanical manufacturing design. The likes of the VRED application, which is automotive visualization, that's heavily VR integrated. Max is got quite heavy VR integration. Whether it's how usable it is, I'm not sure, but it's the Stingray game engine had a big VR component to it, and that's now in Max. But there's nothing at all within Inventor for VR, and there's nothing at all within Fusion 360 for VR. So what happened over at AU? We had because I'm on the Expert Elite roster. We had this sort of special snowflake gathering of all the Expert Elites. I think it was on the Friday. It was the last day of AU, and Andrew Anagnost, the CEO of Autodesk, he comes down, and because it's the Expert Elite group, you get like a sort of an hour, I think, with the CEO to ask him questions, and I mean, my brain was itching during that meeting. You've got the CEO of Autodesk and the CTO, Scott, I forget his surname, but the 2 highest level people in Autodesk sat on stools at the front of a room, and you can ask them anything. And you've got people asking, "Oh, can you fix the right mouse click problem?" and blah 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 blah. "Oh, could you tell this company that you work with to put a bit of bigger battery in their cameras?" And I'm like, wow. I cannot believe I'm sharing a room with these absolute imbeciles. But at the end of it, I didn't want to pipe up during it, so I kind of grabbed Andrew afterwards, and I said to him, "What is your plan for VR in design? You've got an initiative going for VR collaboration in some of your applications where you can do VR meetings for design reviews and that kind of stuff, but Autodesk as a whole, have you got any plans to push forward in design space VR?" He said no, unfortunately. He said no. I don't think he would have said yes, even if they did, but he was quite a firm no. He said that they'd experimented with it, they'd looked at it, but he said there's other companies who are far more advanced with it than Autodesk are, and have probably got a much bigger chance of doing it and doing it better than Autodesk have. The likes of Adobe, Google. He said of Unreal Engine. He said if Autodesk were ever to, make a big leap into VR design, it would probably be a collaboration with another company rather than them developing something in-house, which they've done. There was a project, one of the show reels, I think it's the game engine show reel or the automotive show reel for 2018. There's the show reel being, where they've got the music and all the advertising images and videos and stuff that the customers have done. There was about a 5-second clip of someone with the Vive controllers doing Class A, what looked like Class A surfacing with the controllers sort of pointing the controller at a node and pulling surfaces and tweaking them around. I was like, wow, that's amazing. It was projects, I can't remember what the name of it was, Firefly or something like that. And it doesn't look like it's going to move out of beta. It doesn't look like they're really pushing it at all. So, no, I asked the CEO direct and he said no, which is a shame. The thing is, I spoke about this on the Unprofessional Engineering podcast when I was with Luke and James. They said, well, what do you think of VR and AR in the design space? How is it going to work? And it kind of got me thinking at the time, like, how will it work? Because at the moment, everybody's office is set up and laid out to be you're sat at a chair with a mouse and keyboard and a monitor. How do you go from that to working in a VR space? You'd need probably 3 or 4 times more space around you than you've currently got, and you think about how tightly compact everyone's desks are in an average office, and then space everybody out even more. Because with VR you need full, you need to be able to do this, you need to be able to walk around, you've got a cable hanging from your head, you're pointing over, you can't see, there's no tripping hazards, all that kind of stuff. It would need a complete workspace redesign to be able to design in VR. I think we're quite far off that being worthwhile based on what you can currently do in VR. And I think we're quite a long way away from being able to design in VR for it to even be something that companies can start planning for. I'd like to see it because I love VR. I think it should be the future as well as AR. Probably more AR, to be honest. I enjoy VR more than AR, but I think AR's got more of a productive and actual use in the real world than VR has. But it's just the adoption of it's quite slow and limited. So Fusion is so popular just because it's the only serious app for CAD on Mac. Very possibly, yeah. I've missed the boat on the Mac operating system. I've never owned a Mac, so I don't know what the alternatives are or how well Fusion runs on a Mac. But I mean, I don't even. I'm old. I'm 38 next month. This month, shit. So I don't know what the students have got. I don't know if students are buying Macs. I don't know if students are buying cheap laptops. Windows-based laptops, Chromebooks, I don't know. So I don't know what the students' operating system of choice is. I'd be very surprised if students I suppose their parents would be buying them. I was thinking Macs are inherently quite expensive. If you're buying a Mac, say a MacBook Air or something like that, with the specs that you get in it, you can buy an equivalent Windows laptop. Heavier, thicker, less quality, but in terms of performance, you can get the same specs for, I wouldn't say a fraction of the cost, but a lot less. But if Mammy and Daddy are paying for it, then I don't know. I don't suppose it matters really. But thank you, Jack Sat, for the €10. I didn't realise I had. I don't know how that works. I don't know how you did that, because I haven't set that up, Jack. Well, thank you very much. That's much appreciated. I don't know where that goes, if I'm being honest. Well, I don't know who gets that or where it goes, but I'll look into it afterwards. But thank you very much, Jacksat, for the support. Is there an add-in for Inventor that will insert structural steel shapes while in 2D sketches? Not that I know of. Why would you want to? You'll have to elaborate on that. Why would you want a structural steel shape in a 2D sketch? Are you talking about just the profiles? So are you wanting to import the profiles of the structural sections in sketch mode? So you want like a library of 2D steel beams and channels and whatnot? If so, no, not that I know of. Wasn't there an add-in for Inventor called Advanced Steel? I'll look this up. because it's either an Inventor add-in or it's an AutoCAD add-in. Inventor Advanced Steel. I've never used it, but just look up Autodesk Advanced Steel for Inventor. Look that up. If it's not in that, then the answer is probably no. Do you ever walk through on setting up Content Center so myself and 2 other employees can see both the connections on the network without Vault? I think so. I think I've done a video on that. Let me have a look. I don't know what to make of this. I've got to the point now where I'm having to look up my own videos because I've done that many. I can't remember what I've done. How do I even look at my own videos? Honestly, YouTube is really poor at times for looking at your own stuff. Right, Content Center. Yeah. This one here, how to install and set up Desktop Content Center. It's 3 years old, so it's probably very cheesy, cringy, waffly. I'm doing better for the waffling. Although the class lecture, right, I need to get this off my chest. I probably shouldn't, but the class lecture that I did from Autodesk University, it's a 90-minute reproduction of my class from Autodesk University. So they didn't record it. They were supposed to record it, but they didn't. And a lot of people wanted to see the actual whole class from start to finish. So when I got home, I re-recorded it from start to finish, which took ages, absolutely ages. Try recording like 90 minutes non-stop. It's not as easy as you think. And I started with the camera first in front of the telly, which didn't work because I needed a light, and the light wouldn't light me up without reflecting on the telly back into the camera, and you had this massive ring on the telly which obscured the slides, and it was just an absolute horror show. So eventually redid it. Did 90 minutes worth of recording, which is supposed to be a class lecture. It's in the title of the video. It says lecture from Autodesk University. The little thumbnail for the video says it's 1.5 hours long. In the description of the video, it says this is a class lecture. The opening of the video, it says, do not treat this like a normal YouTube video. This is a reproduction of a class lecture. And then you get people commenting on the video going, you talk too much. Get to the point. The same guy said, you talk too much. You've got an heightened sense of self-love because I talk too much. I had to delete the comment because I was like so angry. I nearly sort of broke character and went really abusive at him. But I was kind of thinking of using that as an example for anybody who wants to be a YouTuber. That is the kind of crap that you need to be able to deal with if you want to be a YouTuber. There's nothing more that you can do to tell somebody what a video is about and why you've done it a certain way. There's nothing more you can do, and then someone will criticize you and be personally abusive towards you because what you've done wasn't what they wanted to see. This person you've never met and doesn't know that you don't know they exist. Your video doesn't suit what they were after, so they will be personally abusive towards you. It's absolutely unbelievable at times. It really is. Drives you nuts. But anyway, I'm not sure how I got onto that from the Content Center video, but oh yeah, because I said I've done better for waffling. Yeah, the waffling it was kind of my thing at the start because I didn't realise that anyone was actually watching the videos when I started doing YouTube, so it was just like, well, I can waffle away as much as I want, and I don't think anyone's watching the videos, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I've done better for it. Some people like the waffling, but it irritates more people than people actually who like it. And I kind of get, like, if I'm doing a video that's a tip, like for example, how the content center works. I suppose that's a good example. If you're really confused about the content center and you just want to know how it works, and you find a video called How the Content Center Works, you kind of do just want to click it, and it just starts and it gets on with it. The last thing you want is the guy going, "Oh, welcome to this video. Sorry about the last video. I did this, that, and the other. And oh, you're coming next week as this, that, and the other. And oh, you have to excuse this, blah, 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 blah." You're like, I don't care. I don't know who you are. Just get on with it. So I can kind of understand why some people don't like that. So I'm doing better for it. It was just my thing when I got started. But have you done a video on composite materials, fiberglass or carbon sandwiches? What do you think about how complicated the models get if composite materials stress analysis is done in Inventor? No, I've not done any videos or anything like that. What do you think about how complicated the model gets if composite material stress analysis is done? Well, I mean, if that kind of detail needs to be in the model, then it's got to be in the model. But I don't think putting those kind of materials into Inventor should make the model any more complicated. It's just that you're using the same material properties as you would do for any other material. But if it's real high-end stress analysis that you do, and then maybe something like Nastran might be more appropriate if Inventor's starting to struggle with the types of materials in the layout of the assemblies. Maybe something like Nastran would be better. But yeah, I am certainly not the authority on stress analysis. There isn't a single video, I don't think I've done any videos at all on stress analysis. And I remember when I started out, I was like, no, I'm not. I don't know about stress analysis. It's not my specialty. I am not a scientist. I am not an engineer. I cannot advise people on stress analysis. So I've kind of stuck with that. What's the best rendering engine for getting the best realistic pics? Max or maybe Keyshot? I don't know if there is an answer to that. I mean, Keyshot is phenomenal, no doubt. Max is also phenomenal. And if you're using the design collection, then you get Max. So it kind of makes sense. But Max is really complicated. I don't know how to use Max. It's got a huge learning curve. But you can do some incredible things with Max, but Keyshot's easier. With Keyshot's kind of set up so that you can just drop a model in, drag some materials from a folder, and then boosh, off you go. You've got to render pretty much almost immediately. So Keyshot's really good for that, whereas Max needs a lot more setting up. It's a lot more setup time with Max. And you can do more with Max in terms of animations and scene setups and that kind of stuff. Which, if you just want a picture, Max is probably overkill for that. So yeah, I would say Keyshot. Keyshot's great, but there's lots of other good rendering packages out there. There's Blender. Blender's good for doing visualizations. You've got Octane. You've got I think a lot of the other rendering engines are actual engines within Max. But Keyshot's good, and it's not too expensive either. So yeah. Fusion 360's got quite... Oh, I wonder if I can find this picture from Reddit. I don't use Reddit all that. Why is my phone buzzing? Yet another fake Apple email saying that I haven't paid a bill when I don't even use iTunes or anything. Right, for Reddit. Yeah, Fusion 360's got a really powerful rendering engine, and I found an image on the Fusion 360 subreddit which was like really, really impressive. In fact, this one here isn't the one I found, but this one is really impressive. Look at that. That's Fusion 360. That is amazing for Fusion 360. In fact, I mean, that's like borderline as good as Keyshot. So the ray trace, look, see the glow from the light here on the table. I mean, that's awesome quality. Look at the reflections in the wood grain, the fall off on the reflection, the orange glow from whatever this thing is here in the table. That is absolutely incredible for Fusion 360. So I'll find the other one. It was a picture of a mouse on a table. I don't know if it's going to be in the thumbnail. No, that's not it. But I mean, this is another one of the reasons. Well, not another one, but the main reason why I'm. Oh, there it is. Bloody hell, it's the second one. Look at that. Went right past it. That is incredible. It's probably the same person. It looks like the same table. So you'd have to work pretty hard at Fusion 360 at Keyshot just to get an image as good as that, and that's from Fusion 360. So yeah, good luck getting anything like that in Inventor. Inventor couldn't ever knock up anything even close to that with its own rendering engine. Yeah, there was the second post. Yeah, no, I just went completely past it. Fusion running in locally on. Yeah, no, yeah. So with Fusion, you can use either the cloud or you can use your local system. I prefer local system. I mean, I assume using the cloud servers is quicker, but it's one of those things where when you're playing around with the render, you never get it right first time. You're always iterating on it. You do the render and it's like, oh, the camera angle's not quite right, so you cancel it. You start again. I want to change the reflection amount or the shadow amount or whatever it is you want to change, and you're constantly changing the render until you're happy with it, which is why I would probably prefer to keep it all local and to keep beasting out all the cloud credits on trial and error. But Keyshot's all local. The downside of Keyshot being, of course, that you don't natively model in Keyshot, so you've got to port everything from the native application into Keyshot, which means you're losing materials. You have to reapply the materials, which isn't always a bad thing, because using native Keyshot materials, they are a better quality than whatever and wherever they came from. But clearly, people can do some incredible renders in Fusion, which, if that's all they need it for, a still image just to show a product, that debunks any requirement for Keyshot for those people anyway. But not for everyone. Keyshot's got a much higher. It's got quite a high skill ceiling. It's used in all kinds of industries: automotive, media and entertainment, movies, sales, all kinds of things. So just knocking out a mouse on the table is one thing, but when you look at what other people are doing, it's now even got volumetric fog. It's got proper displacement, depth mapping, and all kinds of clever stuff in it. So it's got a high skill. That's one of the things I like about it. The same with Red. They've got a really high skill ceiling. So you can either knock out a really good, simple, quick picture, or you can spend days on something and make something absolutely spectacular. Sheet metal punch tools. Why are they such a pain in the arse? Probably because whoever created the source code doesn't work for Autodesk anymore, and the current developers are scared to open it up and look at it, is my guess. But yeah, sheet metal punch tools are really the same as iFeatures, and iFeatures have been an arse since day one, an absolute arse. They're really useful. They're just an arse to use, picking reference points and reference planes, and flipping them over the wrong way and trying to edit them, and it takes you into this weird environment, and you get this black tube, and just, yeah, pain in the arse. Like Fusion is strange that it's got stuff which is more advanced than Inventor, but not so strong on basics like sketching and drawing. Yeah, that's what I meant before about how it was odd calling it pathfinding, because it's got all of the advanced stuff. It's got the better rendering engine. It's got generative design in there. It's got the cam tools in there. But then, yeah, the basics that you actually need, like sketching, is doable. It's workable. It's just long-winded and clunky. But it's long-winded and clunky because we're used to Inventor, which is good. And in order to make Fusion good, it's only ever going to copy what Inventor has, which is then just on this trajectory to be Inventor. So I'm fine with them leaving it to be clunky and not very intuitive. Why do material color overrides between parts and assembly sometimes get themselves completely mixed up? It's because there's so many different levels of material. Well, it's color overrides, not material overrides. There's only one material. But yeah, the texture overrides can be at face level, it could be at feature level, it can be at part level, it can be at assembly level, and it's you get that many of them that, yeah, it can get its knickers in a twist. And I couldn't say off the top of my head which one takes precedence, but there's a button on the top toolbar, I think, which clears all overrides. You can if one of them is getting in a mess, you can just say clear all of the overrides, and it'll put the texture back to default. But yeah, it's one of those things. It needs to be that way though, because sometimes you want to set the texture at feature level. So every face on a fillet, for example, needs to be one like brushed metal, for example, to show it's been machined. But then sometimes you want it to be on face level, because you might split a face and you just want a certain region to be a different color. So sometimes you need to apply the texture at face level. Sometimes it's got to be at part level because you want the whole thing to be one color. So it's kind of got to be that way. There's no real easy way of getting around that, I guess. I mean, they could make it more obvious when there's a clash, because you have to dive deep into nested menus to find where the textures are. You know, you've got to actually right click on the face, go to the properties of the face to actually see that that's where it's getting its texture from. If you could just hover over a face and press a shortcut key or something, it'll say this has got a color override on it. That would be better, but yeah, it doesn't do that. Hi from the Victoria Palace. Victoria Palace Theatre, London. There you go. Well, hello from Newcastle upon Tyne. I might be going to London next year. Autodesk University is coming to London in June or July next year, I think. I don't know whereabouts in London it is, but I might go to AU London. I don't think I'll do a class, though. I'm not going to put myself through that again. Or that soon, anyway. But yeah, I might go down to AU London. I don't know what Autodesk University London's actually like, because the Vegas one is absolutely spectacular. It's phenomenal. Massive. The amount of organisation that goes into it is mind-bending. But I've never seen, this is just completely my own mind's vision, but I just picture AU London being like a little tea room. Like one hall in a conference area rented out, and just a buffet stand with a few pots of tea, and I don't know, it might not be, I'm pretty sure it's not like that, but I don't see AU London being anywhere near on the scale of Vegas. I've had a chance to work on factory design. No, we've got a couple of seats of it at one of the companies I'm at, and there's 3 guys, I think, that use factory utilities, and they just get on with it. I set them up a mapping for their assets, and the assets go into the vault, and I don't think they're not using factory as Autodesk kind of visualized it being used, where you've got like a 3D asset, you place it in Inventor, and then it maps it into a 2D alternative in AutoCAD, and you've got this sort of workflow going around and around and around. We're definitely not using it like that, to my knowledge anyway. But no, I've not used it personally. It's just another one of those things where I don't really get involved with the actual use of it. I just give people it and say, right, there you go, if you've got a problem with it, let me know. But they haven't had a problem with it. So it's been all fine. Is it possible to make a roll gate? Vasist a roll gate. Sounds like an American term. Oh, one of them. Yeah, it's possible to make one of them. I'm not doing it. I can't do a tutorial on a roll gate. It's very niche. There'd be like 100 people or something who'd be interested in seeing that, but it's just looking at the pictures. It's just steel tubing, isn't it? And then this here, the mesh, you could model it. Or there's a texture that is exactly that. It depends whether you want the it depends whether you're actually manufacturing the mesh. But you could just model up a straight up rectangular extrusion and apply a transparent material to it with a mesh texture on it. Other than that, it's just steel tubing, isn't it, with wheels on it. But yes, you can. No, I'm not. Oh, what the hell's going on there? What is my XSplit looking at? Well, that's very trippy. XSplit's broken. When you're splitting a solid using surfaces, is it possible to select several surfaces at the same time? No. Unfortunately not. No, if you're holding down Shift or Control to try and select multiple things and it's not letting you do it, it's not letting you do it. There's no other way of getting around it. The Shift and Control shortcut key is pretty much all you've got. So, nope. Right then, I'm gonna knock it on the head there, mate, because this wasn't even meant to be a live stream. This was supposed to be an unlisted stream. But just to confirm, I might do. No, not might. I am definitely going to do this for just to make the Patreon platform more appealing. I did promise the Patreon supporters that I would do something explicit and unique for the Patreon guys, because they're supporting the channel in a way that's quite meaningful, and it kind of keeps me going. The money that I've had off Patreon's been very, very useful in getting a few things done. So what the plan is because I'm now kind of free. Well, so far the plan is to be free on a Monday and a Tuesday. That might not work out though. But I'm gonna do a live stream like this on the Monday. Probably just like this, nothing planned. Just turn the camera on and just have a quick yab chat, talk. Ask questions, answer questions, whatever happens, mate, whatever happens. Do that on a Monday, probably about 4 o'clock England time, which I think is a workable time in most places except Australia. Put it as unlisted. Patreon people will see it. They'll be able to interact, and then it'll go up on YouTube afterwards, so that no one's missing out. So that's just to give the Patreon guys something in return, and it might be an incentive for other people to sign up on Patreon. I don't know. It's just an effort. It's just an effort to make something happen. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But yeah, solo guitar. The guitar is for ornamental purposes. I did have a black Epiphone. It's the one Noel Gallagher uses. It's like this. I don't know much about guitars. It's ornamental. It works. I can't play it for diddly. But yeah, I had a black electric one. It's the one Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher had one in Oasis with like the Union Jack on it. It was the Epiphone version of that. And then the guy who owned it wanted it back, so I've got that there. So yeah, I can't play guitar. I could do a few chords, but yeah, that's about it. Right, okay, that'll be it then, mate. Thanks again for the €10 from Jacksat. I'll have to try and look out where that goes. I don't know where it ends up, but I'll check it out. But yeah, that's the plan, mate. That's the plan. Thank you. Oh, hang on a minute. One more question come through. What's your opinion on Autodesk support besides the forum? So that's all right, Machial. I can answer this. What's your opinion on Autodesk support besides the forum and other online help desks? Hit and miss. I'm trying to think how to answer this without going off on a tangent. I've had mixed experiences with Autodesk support. The only time I've personally ever been involved with Autodesk support is with Vault. And it depends who you get. There's one guy, don't want to name names, he probably knows who he is, and if I end up getting this guy, I'm fine. He's got it under control. If the support ticket gets routed through to somebody else, who will not name names, they've got a very small support team for some products. If it goes through to that person, I'm in for a bad time, and I'll just close the ticket down and probably restart it. But beyond that, I don't know what their support's like for just raising general tickets for Inventor and AutoCAD and for their other products. What I've found a lot of companies do is they'll go to their CAD supplier first, and then if the problem is beyond the CAD supplier, then they'll raise it to Autodesk. But I guess a lot of people who use Inventor and Fusion 360 and AutoCAD probably don't have a CAD supplier. That maybe bought the product direct from Autodesk or have an educational license or something like that. So I don't know. But to be honest, you're probably going to get a better answer and a quicker answer going through the Autodesk forums than you would do logging a ticket on the support desk. Sad fact of the matter is that's how it is. And yeah, a lot of the people who answer the support tickets are actually answering the forum posts, which I don't agree with, but I'll not get into that. Anyway, yes. So you got an email after an error report asking if they could see the model we're working on. We could really use the help, but never got a response. Asking if they could see the model we're working on. Yeah, just keep hassling them. Keep replying. If you don't get a response and it's been days, put a post on the Inventor forum, because all of the team are on the Inventor forum, and also the product managers and the technical support managers. So if you kick up a big fuss on the Inventor forums, and someone will notice, and then someone will ask you what the ticket is, and it'll get escalated. That's just the sad fact of the matter, is if you kick up a fuss in public, they're more likely to respond to you than you're shouting at them in private over the support ticket. Anyway, right. Yes, thank you very much. That's the plan. That's what the live stream is about, or supposed to be about. I now know what not to do. So yeah, there's just the videos just dropped as well. I don't know if that's popped up in your subscription feeds yet, but I've just knocked out a video for quick views for drawings, and I've got another one scheduled. It's already recorded, ready to go live, probably in a couple of days' time, just spacing it out, but it's another drawing view related video. That's also to come. I need to carry on with the all buttons video, which I'd completely forgotten I'd started. I think someone put a comment like, where's the next all buttons video? I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing that, aren't I? I should probably continue with that. And also render wars. I've got lots of things I need to do. Anyway, thanks again, and yeah, I'll see you in the next live stream if you're on Patreon. I'll chat to you then. If not, then you'll see it afterwards on YouTube. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Toodles.